In this video, I'll talk about how to create a real-time chat app with React. This video is not for complete beginners in React. You don't have to be an expert, but you will require some knowledge in basic state management and some fundamentals. By the end of the video, you'll be able to create this website in which you'll be able to send messages that get updated in real time. This will help you get your hands on how to use Firebase with React a little bit, especially using the React Firebase hooks library. I will begin by creating React app using Vue, although any other methods such as Next.js can be used with minimal differences. Now that our website is ready, I will remove all the boilerplate code. For authentication, I will use Firebase Auth and Firestore for sending messages. Install the Firebase SDK. The first step when using Firebase on any website is to create a new project in the Firebase console and then create a web app within the project. Once you have that done, you will get a Firebase config object which is safe to expose in your front-end app. You should also enable authentication with Google and also add Firestore. I will initialize Firebase at export and auth and a Firestore variable, which are just the functions for enabling them in the web app. I will create a component for signing in called sign-in. I will add a button, and upon clicking the button, the user can sign in. In order to do that, we need a function and also the sign-in provider. In this case, it is Google. I'll return the sign-in with pop-up function with the auth variable and also the sign-in provider. We only want this button to be visible only when the user is not signed in already. Now, we could do this without using any other frameworks, but it will be much easier to do this if we have the React Firebase hooks framework. I will install it and use the useStateAuth hook, and it will return the user object if the user is signed in and null if the user is not signed in. We could also get the loading state as well, but we won't use it here. We will make the sign-in component visible only when the user is signed in by using a simple ternary operator. I will also create the sign-out component which only becomes visible when the user is signed in. Now, if you check it out, the sign-in button is visible when the user is not signed in, and the sign-out button is available when the user is signed in. I will add a input element as well as a button element to the app. Now, before we move on, I will explain the document structure for the chat app. Whenever a message is sent, a new document is created with the message, the author, the email, a photo URL, and also the timestamp when the chat was created. Now that we have that out of the way, I will get back to the code. I will use the useState hook for the input, and when the button is clicked, there will be a new function to send a message. Create a reference to the collection. Now I will use the add_doc function to add the document. The parameters will be the document reference and then the data to store, which is a JavaScript object. For the object, I will first add the message field, and then for the author field, I will get the display name from the useAuthState hook from before. I will do the same for the photo URL, and for the timestamp when the document is created, I will use the server timestamp function from Firebase. We also need to send the message to an empty string again. Now that we have that done, we need to display the messages on the screen. I'll make use of the useCollection hook from the React Firebase hooks framework. It will return a snapshot of the collection that updates in real time. Make sure to get a query to sort the messages by created at, and then limit the number of messages. We can use the data method to get the values from the document. After that, we can send messages and they will be displayed. Now, our app is working but doesn't look good. We can change that by changing the CSS, but I will not cover CSS in this video because at the end of the day, CSS is way harder than any of the things I mentioned before. You can get the full source code from the description below. There is one more thing to do in this app, which is to scroll down when we send a message. It is very simple to do, as we just need to add a div element to the bottom and create a reference to it with the useRep hook, and just scroll down in the send message function. So there you have it, a real-time chat app that you can use. To ensure that only signed-in users can send messages, you can add Firebase security to it. Once again, the full source code is in the description below, along with the completed chat app for you to try out. I hope that everyone watching this video learned something new or found something interesting, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.